Hi there, and welcome to the Kingdom Sexuality Podcast. We're Paris and Alana, friends who have a heart for intimacy and long to uncover God's truth and design for sexual freedom within marriage. Welcome here.
All right, friends, we're back with another hot seat episode featuring
Whoop, whoop.
Alana and I. Big surprise.
Yay!
So Alana and I each wrote down a series of questions that neither of us have any idea what we're about to be asked, okay? Alana's cringing right now.
I don't do very well on the fly, but we'll see. I'm excited.
I think you're going to prove yourself wrong. Okay,
Yeah,
so you guys, obviously, they're all marriage and intimacy related. And this is just going to be really fun. So hopefully this gives you guys some fun ideas and maybe some new opinions or things to implement in your marriage. And we're just going to have a lot of fun with it. So Alana, who's going first?
It'll even just help people to get to know us better, I think, too.
Yes.
It'll be kind of fun.
Good point.
Do you want to do like I ask a question, you ask a question?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. So then I'll just start because I came up with a great idea. Okay. Okay. So my first question is, being a mom of two beautiful, sweet little girls, what are some of the things you hope to imprint on them around intimacy in future relationships?
Oh, this is a good one. Also, thank you for the compliment on my babies. So,
Oh, they're so sweet.
Thank you. Something that is huge for me in implementing on them in terms of intimacy in the future. I'm just relaying this question back to myself. I got that, right?
Yep.
Okay. I think about this often, actually, very often. And I've thought about it since the day we found out we were pregnant with Acadia, because being through our story and also realizing, as we continue our walk and we continue generation to generation, I truly believe that we are just going to continue to grow closer to Christ generation after generation, right? That is my hope and my prayer for my family. And it was my mom's hope and her prayer for her family, and so on and so forth. And so I think of that in every area. So in terms of sexuality, I've already had the conversations in my head. I'm thinking like, yeah, we're totally going to touch on this and we're totally going to go about it in this way. So I'm a birth doula. I think we've kind of talked about this in our intro. So there's a lot of talk around the kitchen table about vaginas and uteruses and periods and mucus plugs, and like the girls are there. They're there because we've normalized this. We also farm though. Okay. So they see birth all the time, all the time. It's, the cows, and we've got chicks, and, there's cats and there's dogs. Like, there's birth all the time. And so with the girls, the first conversation we ever really had that I guess you could turn, it really will lead into them, in the future being like, oh yeah, mom and I used to talk about, okay, this is how it works when a cow gets pregnant, how baby comes out, and that's her vagina. Oh, but mom, how does a cow get pregnant? And so we have a little chit chat, and we're like, okay, Ramsey, he's our bull. He and the cow do a little exchange, and he gives her a seed. Okay, I'm telling this to a 3-year-old, right? And so we keep it super basic, but I'm not lying, and I'm not going to say mistruths, right? And I make it very natural. I'm like, yeah, isn't that amazing how God made that happen? That when a bull and a cow do their thing, life is produced. And so I've been super conscious about making it normal and making it exciting and bringing the wonder and the beauty back to Christ and his creation with us, right? And so, Acadia's getting older now. She's 5, and she started thinking bigger, outside of animals. And so we have a few friends that are pregnant right now. And I have a really dear friend that Acadia just loves this couple, and they're having their first baby. And she's like, okay. And she asks the questions like, so she's having a baby. How does the baby get there? And so we have conversations, right? And it's still, I'm not saying all things anatomy and that kind of stuff, right? but we have the talks, and she's totally like in wonder and awe and beauty of it. I was like, man, this is amazing. Like, I feel so blessed because I have a very inquisitive daughter,
Yeah.
and she's very academic. And so I was kind of the same. So I committed to being able to, okay, Paris, you sit down and you have good conversations. And my heart was always just for it to be beautiful and natural and
Mm.
lovely, but always bringing it back to Christ and his
Yeah.
creation, and saying, this is how God made us. Isn't that amazing? I want the
Yes.
wonder of sexuality to be, oh my gosh, God made us for this. Isn't that exciting? I can't wait to get married, to experience this with my husband. This is going to be so good. Like those kind of talks.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
even now, just talking birth, but it's all going to how we talk about those things, all leads up to how we're going to talk eventually about sex.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it. I'm so excited for it, as the girls get older. Like, I'm looking forward to it. And Neil and I cover this in prayer. And I just,
Mhm.
again, I go back and I think, okay, God is for us. Who can be against us? Like, we've committed this to prayer. And I'm
Yeah.
excited for the
Yeah.
conversations and our future together with the girls and going about the whole talk about sex and sexuality and husband and wife.
Awesome. That was so good. What a great answer.
Thanks. Sorry. I feel like I should just keep talking because this makes me excited.
That's
Oh
good.
gosh.
Well, we
Okay, are
won't.
you ready? Are you ready for yours?
Uh, yes. Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
good.
Alana, we need to do a series on love languages one of these days,
Mm,
no? So
mhm.
I wanted to ask you, what is your love language and Jeff's love language? And piggybacking off of that, how do you serve each other with love languages in mind?
Hmm. That's a great question. And it's interesting too, because I feel like our love languages have changed over time,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting.
Yeah.
So before we got married, his love language was touch,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you'd touch his back and he's like, "Oh, that was so nice. Thank you."
Yes.
Like he was just like, it would fill him up instantly. "Oh, thanks. Thanks for touching my back. Thanks for touching my shoulder.
Yes.
Give me a hug." Um, and I don't really remember what mine was before we got married. But anyways, and then we got married and his has changed, which I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"This is weird. Like, this isn't filling you anymore. Like it
Yeah.
is, but it's not the top dog anymore." So,
Yeah.
okay, so I guess if you're new to love languages, there
Mm-hmm.
are 5.
Yeah.
There's 5. So there's touch, there's words of affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
quality time, acts of service, and
Gifts, because that's mine. I
gifts.
won't forget it for you.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you. And it's funny, I forgot that one because that one's kind of mine as well. Um, but but no, actually, if I'm really honest right now, I would say probably acts of service
Mm-hmm.
is my top dog. That's where
Mm-hmm.
I'm at in life. If Jeff does the dishes
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, "Ugh," I'm drooling. Thank you,
Yes.
Jeff. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Someone put it on Instagram, or was it my own? But they call that chore play.
Oh, I've never heard that and I love it.
Right? So I was like, yes, that's
That
true.
is
Um,
amazing.
yeah. So that's mine. The chore play gets me every time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Jeff's now is, I would say, quality time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So that's the first part of your question. What
Yeah.
was the second part of the
So
question?
second part is knowing each other's love languages. How do you use that to implement serving each other?
I think I just have to be really mindful of it because I think
Right.
for Jeff's love language being quality time, he needs to feel heard.
Right.
That's, like, one of the biggest parts of it, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something I'm working on because I'm busy. I got Theo, I got notifications popping up on my phone, I got text messages,
Mm-hmm.
I got a sex position to post, I've got, you know,
Yeah. You've
photos to
got
edit,
meals on the go. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so and then if he's sharing something about work or he's sharing something that he's really proud of, he put sprinklers in over the weekend and, he's telling me about it, he just needs me to stop what I'm doing and look at him and give him my undivided attention, and
Mm-hmm.
that is filling all his tanks.
Yeah.
Um, And that is something for myself, I just have to remember that this is filling him up. So it's
Yeah.
a service for me as I stop everything and I
Yes.
give him that attention. He needs undivided attention.
Mhm.
And sometimes I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
Because I want to keep talking to Theo in between, or I see what he's doing. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
buddy. But I'm like, okay, no, Jeff needs this. Like,
Yeah.
so anyways, that's that. Um, and as for Jeff, I think he's been really good at it, at seeing that and knowing that him doing those odds and ends around the house,
Mhm.
or, you know, putting the laundry in, um, that kind of jazz, how it fills my tank. And I
Mhm.
try and share how much I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Um, but then again, I don't know if words of affirmation is quite as high for him. So I should be like
Right.
trying to equalize it with something that's quality time related. I should probably work on that.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
it's I think he's doing really well at seeing that and
Mhm.
feeling that. That's my thoughts.
I love it. I appreciate that. That's so good because I feel like, a lot of us will get caught up in what we like. I think
Mhm.
especially as women, and we forget because maybe our men aren't so expressive with their feelings, and it's like, "Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like he has a love language and how can I implement this in areas to serve him?" So I love that. I love that
Yes.
you shared that.
And it was actually something we put in our phones. We had talked about it one day. We're like, um, I don't know how we had come about talking about it. It was like, Jeff, what are some of your needs? Like, what are your, like, tell me some of your needs. And we have a list. It's called, I don't know where it is. Um, Jeff's 5 healthy needs, you
Perfect.
know?
I love it.
And so I had them in my phone so I could see them. You know, I could remind myself, okay,
Mhm.
these are them. I could look at them.
Yeah.
And then it's good that I'm looking at them now because it reminds me of all of them now that I found
You're
them in my notes.
welcome.
um, but yeah, I think yeah, it's really good. That was a good question.
Good. I'm glad. That was awesome.
Okay, so my next question
Mhm.
is is a question that I didn't actually come up with. So we had, I don't know if you saw it, we had someone message us on Instagram with this question.
Okay.
So I don't know if you saw it, but I wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Okay. I'm ready.
So it was basically, have you ever experienced crying after some really good sex? And is this
Oh,
normal or
yes.
am I nuts? That was the
Yes.
question.
You're not yet. No, no, no. Not yes to your nuts. Yes to this is normal and it's amazing. Those are times that are just, stored away in my precious lovemaking memory bank because the times where
Mhm.
it brings me to tears, I'm honestly left just in absolute awe of God, to be completely raw with you
Yeah.
guys. And there's just times where I'm like, God, 3 years ago, this never would have happened because of, the different shame or trauma mentalities that I was working through. And I'm like, I couldn't even get to the point where I enjoyed sex with my husband, which was a
Mm.
nightmare for me because it's not what we wanted. And it was so hard
Yeah.
to work through that. And, when God started bringing redemption to us and bringing healing and answers to us, and the tears just started flowing.
Mhm.
And I remember the first time actually feeling funny about it, which I'm glad
Yeah.
you're asking. Like, the first time I cried, I almost felt like hiding it from Neil. And I was like, no, wait, like, what, Paris? What? Like,
Yeah.
this is what freedom tastes like, you know?
Yeah.
And so I embrace that. And there's been definitely many times where after we've made love and I'm just crying out of such a spirit of thankfulness and joy and fulfillment and contentment and thanks and everything, and is a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. I love that question.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was a great question. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did not see that on Instagram. So I'm so
Ah.
glad you asked. Okay. You ready for number two?
Okay, yes.
Alana, what is your favorite sex position and why?
Okay. I'll just be really honest. Okay. So for me,
Mhm.
it hasn't been very long of a span of time that I've been able to orgasm with
Yeah,
during sex.
you've shared
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
So there's a couple, we got a handful of positions that it's like,
Yeah,
these are
those
good.
are the
Then it
ones.
happens
Mhm.
like every time.
Mhm.
So for us, we're just like it's really basic. It's really
Mhm.
simple. It's just me on top.
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about this. Let's spice it up, try something different. But kind of like right now, this is what's working. So we're just
Yes.
gonna keep doing with what's working because
Yeah.
it's great.
Yes.
So
And it's
that's my
progression,
favorite
right?
right now.
I love it. That's
Yep.
fantastic. Can I ask you one more question on that? When
Sure.
you say you on top, is that
It's like missionary. Is that what it's called? We're like lying down on top of each other. I have to look it up. That's what that's called, right?
okay?
Missionary?
Because I wanted to ask, like, are you sitting or are you laying
No,
down? Okay. Yeah.
lying down.
This is good. I like talking about sex positions with my girlfriends because you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought about this. Or to hear that this is doing it for someone else, it's like, we should
Yeah.
totally implement this. If we need to spice things up, we need to try different things, we need to experiment. Or like you're saying, like, just, okay, we haven't orgasmed during sex yet. Like, we need to start trying to figure things out. I love that.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, that's a great question. That was good. Okay. So my third question for you, do you and Neil have goals within your relationship? Whether that's like sexually, like have sex this often or
Mhm.
whatever, or spiritually, like together.
We absolutely do. I'm a very goalie person. I'm not going to say that. That did not come out as good as it sounded in my head. I am a very goal-oriented person. I have been for probably my entire life. Neil, not so much. And so when we got married and you're meshing and you're melding and you're figuring life out together, and I was like, okay, 5-year plan, let's go. And he's like, wait, what? Like, what is a 5-year plan?
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, everybody's not me here. So,
Oh, right.
right? Like, hello. So we totally started having those conversations. And so we still do. We will sit back and we'll reflect and be like, how's this going? Is this going okay? For example, I'll give you some peeks into like what our goals are. So we totally make goals sexually,
Mhm.
because we know from our history with working through shame and guilt and trauma and a lot of physical limitations on my end from health issues.
Mhm.
Like, we had to make goals because we're like, we can't ever throw in the towel because otherwise discouragement takes over, like that, right?
Right.
So
Right.
now for us, it's the same as you, Alana. You shared like, okay, I found something that does it for me and I can orgasm. We have our positions that are the same thing. So we're like, okay, when we make love, we're going to work really hard towards orgasm right now for both of us because that's where
Mhm.
we're at right now because it's not been that easy for us. And, talking about how often we have made goals like, okay, we're not going to let, you know what, for Neil and I, if we let sex go, don't make love for 3 days, we have like this 3-day period of no making love, we notice it so hardcore, like
Mhm.
things just wear thin on us. And it's not like we're fighting. Like, it's very rare for us to fight or argue, but we'll get low or we'll kind of get short and the disconnection happens. And
Right.
that stuff
Yeah.
starts to surface.
Yeah.
And so we know that we're like, yeah, 3 days, it's not good for us to go beyond that. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we rock those goals either. It's actually really challenging in certain
Mhm.
seasons for us to be like, okay, like we need to prioritize. We talked about prioritizing sex, the big one, because we know
Yeah.
if we don't meet our goals with, okay, this is what we said we were going to do and we didn't do it and we can feel it now and it's not good. And it bleeds into the entire family. I have 2 little girls, and when we're not super joyful and lovey-dovey and all over each other like we normally are, the girls, even though they might not consciously be like, oh, what's going on, there's still a like like,
Yeah. Something's off. Yeah.
something's off. So
Yeah.
yeah, goals is huge for us, and spiritually too, absolutely. Like every area of life, Alana, like we're super, super big on goals. That was an awesome
Awesome.
question.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I was second guessing all of them, so I'm glad they've been okay.
Okay, I'm so excited for this. Is my last question for you. Off the top of your head, can you give us, your audience, your top 3 stay in date night suggestions?
Okay, here we go. I feel like I have to do this really fast. No, okay. 3, stay in.
Date
Date
night.
night
Yes.
suggestions. First thing that comes to mind
Mhm.
is to build a blanket for it.
Woo! You are fun. I've never done that with just Neil.
No, Jeff and I
Oh,
did that before we had kids
I
in
love
our
it.
basement suite. It was
That's
so
so
fun. We, like,
great.
brought a computer in and
Mhm.
we probably had popcorn, and then you just, like, put all the cushions from the couch
Yeah,
on, and then you put them up. I probably have a picture somewhere. I should find it,
I
and maybe
love
I'll
it.
put it somewhere in a
Post
story.
it on Instagram now
Um,
for us to see.
yeah,
How to
okay.
build a Jeff and
I love
Alana worthy fort.
to have a games night. This is like Jeff and
Mm.
I love games, and I feel
Yeah.
like it's something we haven't been great at lately, but maybe we just don't have the right two-person games. But I feel like there's some
Okay.
really good ones out there.
Yeah.
But to just sit down and play some games together,
Yeah.
I feel like it's so much fun because you get that fun competitive side where you get to
Mhm.
see who's competitive, who's not.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I feel like that's a really good one.
I love it. That's something we need to do more of because I really enjoy games too, and we haven't just had a
Okay.
game night in a while. Maybe
I
that's why
wondered
I'm
if you guys
asking
like
you this
games.
question. Maybe not. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I feel like this one would be really fun. And it's something that Jeff and I actually haven't done in a really long time. Um, but it would be to bake together,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, when's the
Yes.
last time you just,
Yes.
like, baked together? I love that. It's so much fun. So I feel like that would be a really good one too, because then you get to have fun, you get to be in the kitchen
Mhm.
together, wear the apron
Yeah.
with nothing else underneath it.
I was
Just
just
kidding.
gonna
Do
say you
it.
can make it X-rated and it's gonna be totally fine. You can make
Exactly.
a lot of fun out
Right?
of that.
Exactly. Eat it off each other later on. It's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. Oh, I
But
love it.
just yeah, that it, like, can fill lots of needs, right? If your quality time,
Mhm.
you're doing that together, you're shoulder to shoulder, you're having those conversations while you're
Yes.
whisking up the dry ingredients or
Mhm.
whatever you're doing. Like, I feel like that's a really great way to reconnect.
That's super. Super! I love it. Okay, Alana, that's all my questions.
Oh, that's it. That was fun.
That was fun. Hey friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us as we dive deeper into meaningful, godly intimacy, tackle the hard questions, and embrace truth while we're at it. We're also on Instagram at Kingdom Sexuality. You'll find our Instagram handle below. We will also see any other resource links we may have mentioned in today's episode. As always, our hearts are to cultivate deep community and freedom with you guys, and we cannot wait to continue this journey alongside you. We'll see you in the next episode.